What's happening, Hardscapers? This is episode 240 of the How to Hardscape podcast, where we talk about how you can start and grow your hardscaping business. And on today's episode, we have part 2 of a 3-part marketing series that we're doing to start the year here. And this one is building upon the last one. So if you haven't listened to the marketing part 1 about creating your avatar, I suggest you go back 2 weeks before this, 2 episodes before this one, and listen to that one. This builds on top of what we're going to be talking about in part 2 here, as well as in part 3 coming up in about 2 weeks as well. But on this part 2, we're going to be talking about where to find your avatar. Once we've created the avatar, where are we going to go out and find them and try to sell them on our projects, on our work, that we want to turn that prospective client into a client of ours. So where to find them once we've built that client avatar. And if these marketing episodes have helped you, I would really appreciate some feedback at How to Hardscape on Instagram. Just shoot me a message or let me know if you have any other questions that I missed, any topics that you want me to dive deeper into. This whole entire podcast of How to Hardscape could be a marketing podcast in and of itself, with the amount of topics that we can do a deeper dive into. But the reason why I wanted to do marketing episodes here, especially at the start of the year, is it does seem like we're going to have a little bit more of a difficult year compared to the last few years in the industry. So we may be needing to sharpen our pencils a little bit on our marketing. And since we haven't done it in a few years as much as we've needed to, it's now's the time to kind of take the deep dive and learn a little bit more and put that into practice into the spring. So that's why we're making sure we are tackling these topics before the spring rush, so that we can have anything that we need in place to be able to capitalize on that spring rush. And hey, if you want to learn more about hardscaping, or you want to dive into a software to help you streamline processes in your business, from budgeting to estimating, job costing, scheduling, time tracking, and so much more, we have that available for you at the How to Hardscape headquarters. And this is on our members only site at members.howtohardscape.com. And actually, January, we are going to be diving into how to create a website. And it's actually something that I've talked extensively about in past episodes, going back to 2019, maybe early 2020. And it's something that I really enjoy. I do like making websites. You can see howtohardscape.com, all these different websites that I've created myself. And one thing that I haven't quite exactly done in the past is really optimize my own hardscaping business website. So this past week or two, I've been going in there and doing some edits and making sure pages actually look nice. I even had some blank pages. I was not taking my own advice on this. I think I just poured too much into the How to Hardscape website and make sure that ranked, that I hadn't really applied all of that to my actual hardscaping business website, which I should have done. And especially with SEO taking at least 6 weeks to actually get some sort of momentum with it, now was the time. January was the time for me to do a deeper dive into building out content for my website. So I took this month to do this, and I am going to do the same for members of the How to Hardscape headquarters software and the How to Hardscape content library, course library that we've got. We're going to be hopping on with members and doing a workshop on how to create a website from scratch. So if that interests you, now's the time to sign up for the How to Hardscape headquarters. And that includes the software, the course content library, and any workshops or meetings, monthly meetings that we get into. We're going to be launching a book club. Got lots of plans for this in the near future. So How to Hardscape headquarters, shoot me a message at How to Hardscape if you want to learn more about that, or members.howtohardscape.com if you are inclined to learn more about it. Book a demo there and talk with me one-on-one. But we also want to thank our sponsor, Cycle CPA. If you're looking for bookkeeping, accounting, CFO services, reach out to Cycle CPA. That's at cycle_CPA if you're already on Instagram, and cyclecpa.com if you are looking to check them out further online, and let them know How to Hardscape sent you for money off their services there. And without further ado, let's get into our marketing episode, part 2, where to find your client's avatar. Okay, building on top of what we talked about in part one of this marketing series, we talked about building a client avatar, and that includes creating a type of client and their characteristics that helps you find where they are in the real life, online, offline, and so on. And this client avatar is a typical client that you would service, that is your A plus client, the clients that you love. Or if you're just starting out, you haven't serviced as many clients, the clients that you think would fit your business the best. So we're looking at their age, income, location, what kind of jobs do they typically have, and you can also exclude jobs that you typically do not like your clients having, say engineers, lawyers, real estate agents, whatever that might be, because you could also exclude these things, especially when you are doing a online ad. You can add inclusive items as well as exclude certain items for each of these characteristics. You can include marital status, kids, pets. Obviously, we are working for homeowners, so that's a given, but also creating interests and hobbies that a typical client of yours would have. And we're going to build specifically on that point of where to find these clients. So as detailed as you can possibly be with creating your client avatar is just going to set you up for success on where to actually find this client avatar. And we're going to talk about that, and in our next part 3, we're going to talk about the creative and how to develop certain content strategies to be able to appeal to this client avatar. So like I said, if you haven't listened to part 1, go back, listen to it, because it's the foundation, it's the building block on what we're going to be talking about today, as well as what we're going to be talking about in part 3. That content really needs to speak specifically to that client avatar, and where to find that client avatar is very specifically based on who that client avatar is. Now, quite specifically, you can find your client avatar one of two ways, either online or offline. And there's many different routes that we can get into in the online space, lots of different routes that we can get into in the offline space. But when it comes to marketing, you're either trading money or time to find and reach out to this client, and sometimes both in a lot of cases. So if you don't have time, but you've got lots of money, there's going to be strategies for you to deploy that capital to try and find that client avatar. Now, marketing's all about testing. So having many different test ads to see which one is resonating better for that client avatar that you've created, and then doubling down on a certain ad that's performing better. It's going to eat up a little bit of money, especially if you are, especially if we're going into a season where more and more companies are going to be advertising because they see that their word of mouth is not spreading as far. They need more leads coming into their business. It's just going to drive up the demand for, say, online ads or offline postcard mailings, whatever that might look like. So with that demand surging and the supply being limited, we will see an increase in price for these ads. Now, I break up these people that we can, with these client avatars that we can find into 4 different buckets. So we've got the people that you know, the people you know, and people around the people you know, and people you don't know. And that's specifically ordered in the primary focus to the least focus that you should have on, or the prioritization of what you should be going after for your prospective clients. Now, like I said in part 1, I've actually made notes, and I rarely do this for episodes that I actually come on this podcast and talk, but I want to make sure I hit home a lot of key points, and I have lots of notes here to go off of. So bear with me for each of these, but I'm going to describe them and help you find these clients and what you can do to help bring leads into your business. Starting with the people that you know, and these could be just family, friends, but more specifically, you should have a client list, your CRM, your customer relationship management tool, whatever you use for that. We have it with How to Hardscape headquarters. You should have a list of clients that you've done work for, or they have reached out to you. They were a lead that just fell through, especially these past few years. I've had many of those, just lack of time and not being responsive enough, and those clients just fell through. Clients that you provided a quote for, but they didn't follow through with it, and so on. You should have different buckets of these people that you know that are past clients or prospective clients that have already reached out to you. I have a spreadsheet that I've developed into imported into the Headquarters software. And what we're doing there is we're going to be deploying email marketing very shortly with the software so that you can actually label a client, whether they are a lead or you actually went out and did a consultation but didn't give them a quote, or you sent them a quote and they didn't approve the quote, or they are a finalized client, you did the project for them, and so on. 4 different categories of that so that you can send mass emails to whichever of those clients that you're looking for. And this is why this is the number 1 bucket of people that you should be reaching out to get more leads into your business, because they already know who you are. They already know who your business is. The low-hanging fruit is family, friends, and asking them if they know anybody that needs work done and so on. But the next best thing are your happy clients that you've done work for, and you know that they would be willing to hand your name out there. Sometimes they just need a small reminder that you are willing to maybe even compensate them with a gift card of some sort for any successful lead that comes into their business that signs up a project, or anything that you want to do for them, or just to say, hey, we are looking for a Google review. If you are willing to give a 5-star Google rating, that's going to help your business out immensely when it comes to showing up higher in Google results. Google My Business is where I am going to be prioritizing my ratings and reviews, because I'm going to be doing this, especially leading into the spring season. You could also have clients that phased their project or decided not to add on a certain area in their space, and just sending them an email may just remind them that they should revisit that with you and get a quote for that. Or like I said, those people know people, and just having that reminder that you are still in business and you are looking for work, they may just have somebody in their lives, in their network, that they'd be willing to pass your information along. So that first bucket, people you know, is the best place to reach out. And I've already covered bucket number 2 with this. Bucket number 1 being the people that you know. So those past clients, family, friends, if they need any work done, but also asking them, the people you know, or the people that they know that are looking for work, that they can pass your name on. And I personally like to incentivize my clients, or at least give them something after the fact if they've referred me for some work. And that kind of just gets the ball rolling with that. So bucket number 1, bucket number 2 kind of covered in that same topic, that same conversation there. And that is the low hanging fruit. And then we've got the people around the people you know. And that is quite specifically for those clients that you've done work for in the past, and you've created a client's avatar based on those A+ clients that you've done work for. This could also be just if you're just starting out in business, you've created that client avatar. Now you have a list of interests and hobbies that client avatar does. So for example, we live in Toronto, and let's just say a client avatar that I've created for my business is a family, and they have kids, and their kids are at a certain age that they would be doing sports. Well, what is a much more, say, affluent sport, or a sport that costs a lot of money, that more than likely the family that has their kid enrolled in this has a little bit more disposable income? Perhaps. Not all the time, but more likely than not. Well, hockey. Hockey equipment costs lots and lots of money. It does take up quite a bit of time, And this could be an area that you could target in your marketing. So, for example, you can target specifically hockey arenas in your Facebook ads. And that just can be related to people who visit this area. So, you have a specifically defined area, and you can target people who have visited this area recently. And that will help you target those specific families. In the offline world, maybe go to that hockey arena and see if there's any way that you can advertise there. Getting involved in some sort of sponsorship for a hockey team would also help with that. Any way, offline and online, you can think that you can get around those families that are involved if that is part of your client's avatar. Bringing this more into the online world of things, Dylan from Landscaping with Dylan was on the show at the end of last year, and he talked about a strategy that helped him grow his Instagram and to get local followers. And that was to go to the Explore page, the search, and type in the city that he works in. And what will show up is, if you go to that specific location, is everybody that's posted in that specific location that you can go in and like and comment, and quite specifically look for people that would be part of your client's avatar. So you're not going into some kid's Instagram page and liking and commenting. That's not good. But actually taking your company Instagram and going in and liking and commenting and putting a thoughtful comment into people's feed can help them kind of familiarize themselves with you a little bit. You also have a couple options here with building your Instagram. Me personally, I followed similar to what Landscaping with Dylan was talking about, where you have a personal kind of brand page and your company page separately from one another. So for example, I am a hardscaper. That's just my personal. And then I have my actual hardscaping business account, which is separate. My hardscaping business account, I'm only going to be publishing polished photos, kind of keep it as more of a portfolio piece. My personal brand part of things is just a free-for-all of whatever I feel like posting there. And I'm going to be posting more on Instagram. That's my goal this year with that. But deciding which of those you want to actually engage with is important, and then following those that strategy that Dylan actually talked about there has really helped me in the past, and I definitely recommend that because that can get the ball rolling. Now that takes a lot of time, hours per day for multiple months, and you'll start to get that ball rolling, get some leads in, especially if you have some beautiful work or creative reels posted in there. So that person that sees your comment, takes a look at your name, goes into your profile and sees your work, automatically kind of falls in love and maybe follows you or reaches out to you for work. And now you can take that one step further. And like I was talking about with hockey rinks, once again, living in Toronto, what's an affluent thing that people with disposable income will go to? Well, the Toronto Maple Leaf games. That is something that costs a lot of money to go to, a few $100s for the highest, worst seats. So it does take some disposable income, especially nowadays, to be able to go to a game like that. And you can actually target that specific. You can go to your search function in Instagram, type in the Scotiabank Arena, and then you will see everybody that's posted photos and have actually created the location as Scotiabank Arena, and you can actually start to target those people with that strategy, going in, liking, and you feel free to apply this to anything. For example, you have a family as your client avatar. They have a family, they've got kids. Where do those people typically take their kids? Is there a children's museum in your city? Well, more than likely it's the parents taking photos of their time at this children's museum, and you can go in and go through and try to target certain people and like, comment, just get that social traffic ball rolling, and you will get more and more traction with that. Now that does take time. That's something that doesn't take any money. It does take your time. So if you have time that and are short on capital, that is a good strategy to try to get the ball rolling to get leads into your business. Once again, this is the people around the people you know. So you are, once again, going back to that client avatar, and you are taking a look at those interests, hobbies, and type of people, whether they have families, kids, and so on. That helps you narrow down the places that these people would visit. That helps you narrow down where they might live in your city if you're not too familiar with your city and don't quite know exactly where this client avatar would live in pockets in your city. You can use this strategy to target certain individuals to then create that relationship, get them to know your company a little bit more. And it's a numbers game at this point. It's like you do you visit 1,000 profiles and you've liked and you've commented, and eventually you may get one of them. But if that one person signs up for a $25,000 patio in their backyard, and you took, let's say, and that took you a month to get that ball rolling, 1 hour per day, that's 30 hours. That could be worth it depending on the amount of time that you spend on it, but it's also going to set you up for more and more work with that client. Maybe they know people that you can get more and more work from, and also the past engagement that you've done on social media will get that ball rolling. Maybe they know people that you can recommend them to. This does need to be paired with you posting consistently on your Instagram so that they see that you're active. They see maybe stories each and every day of you on site, and so on and so forth there. So it's an all-encompassing kind of strategy with this, but it is something that you can focus on, once again, if you don't have the capital, but you have the time. I just want to take a break from today's episode to talk about our sponsor, Cycle CPA. You may have a CRM or project management software in place, but what data are you using to ensure your estimating is accurate? Having a proper accounting setup and accurate bookkeeping done is key to understanding overhead expenses and other costs that must be recouped in your estimates. Cycle CPA is a remote bookkeeping and CFO firm that helps to connect the dots from the financial reports to the hardscape and landscape data needed in order to reach high profits. They provide landscape and hardscape industry benchmarking, job costing financials by service line, advisory meetings, and much more. Cycle CPA's team of accountants are specialized within the hardscape and landscape industry, and you can visit them at cyclecpa.com, and for $200 off, mention the How to Hardscape podcast. Now back to our episode. Now, this second point that I'm going to be making on this third bucket, people around the people you know, that's once again having some sort of familiar or common interests with your client's avatar or with the people that you know. I'm going to tie this next part into the fourth bucket, which is people you don't know. Now, one thing that you can do is door-to-door. And the best way, in my opinion, to do door-to-door is with that third bucket of people. The people around the people you know. So maybe you're doing a project for somebody, and you are doing, let's just say, a front walkway redo. Lift and relay. You can look around that neighborhood, and you can start to target people that may need that same work, especially if it's front yard work. And you can quite specifically know exactly which houses, just looking at them, are going to need that front walkway, lift, and relay. And now, since you are already doing work there, that neighborhood has seen you, your truck, knows that you're working there. You can then, if you have the sales chops to go door to door, maybe you just want to do a door hanger or something like that, but at least it's got your company logo on it. Maybe they see your company logo on your truck. They're a bit familiar with you. Once again, people around the people you know, you can then target those front entrances and say, I'm here in the neighborhood right now. I'm doing the front walkway for the Millers across the street or down the road. It's a great way because these people are at least a little bit familiar with you. And if they're not familiar with you, you can say, hey, I'm doing a job for the Millers down the road or across the street. And they either will be familiar with who the Millers are, or just you saying, hey, I'm doing a job for the Millers down the road, is it gives them a sense of familiarity with you, knowing that you are in the neighborhood doing work for somebody, whether they recognize that last name or not. So once again, this is the people around, the people that you know. You can target them based on the work that you're doing. If you're doing work in the backyard, maybe you have a yard sign, and then do it at the end of the job to go around. Especially if you finish half a day, you've got half a day left in that project. Do you go out and start that next project, or do you just take that half a day and go around the neighborhood and knock on doors, see if people are home, and if not, put a door hanger if that's legal in your area, with something quite specifically tied to the service that you were doing. One thing that I'm going to be focusing on doing this year, if I need to especially, is I am going to be double downing a little bit more on the lift and relay side of things. I think that's a much easier pain point that people may have, that even if they don't quite want to spend a lot of money on something, it is something that may need to be done, especially if their front steps are falling apart, their front walkway has tripping hazards on it, especially leading into the winter next year. I'm going to be doing postcards or door hangers. One side is going to be a title of redo. It's going to have pictures of pain points, of steps falling apart, front walkway being uneven, weeds, etc., and showing that we do lift and relay. And on the back side of that is going to be redo. I think I just said that twice. On the front side, it's going to be fix. On the back side, it's going to be redo. And redo is just going to show, once again, those same pain points, but how we can make it completely 100% different. That would be the complete redo. Because with our packages, when I'm quoting a lift and relay, I do give a few different packages. I give the package of number one, just the lift and relay. Number two, we redo the base, we give them our warranty, and we put the pavers that they already had back down. And number three, a complete redo. So they've already, in that second package, redone the base. $5 a square foot more, you have new pavers, and it's a new, entirely different project. Nobody ever goes with package number two. It's just there to explain that, hey, package number three is just a little bit more expensive than package number two. So just go with package number one or package number three. And that is what I'm going to be targeting my marketing on coming into this year. And then bucket number 4 of those people you don't know. And this would be the last thing that you would want to focus on. This would be like going door to door and just knocking on doors cold and introducing yourself and your business and what you do, or doing postcard mail out to certain areas. Now, this does still come with some targeting. You can use your client avatar, know the location of typical clients in the areas. What I've been doing for years is, because I've moved to a larger city, on the outskirts of this city, I'm not familiar with. But as I'm driving around for the past few years now, and I've found myself in a neighborhood that I'm not familiar with, I just take a look at the houses, take a look at the work that they've had done in the front. And it's very apparent to me immediately, especially with the stone that was used. I've been in the industry for 15 years now. I know the stone that is outdated 15 years or even well before that, coming into the industry and seeing outdated projects then. I know immediately how outdated a project is, or a front walkway is, especially front entrances. And it's not like you're going to drive around an area and then take a peek into people's backyards, but the front yard, you can take a look and know exactly what needs to be done. And I've noted down those areas. What I do is I go on Google Maps, I pull over, go on Google Maps, take a screenshot. That just shows me where I am, the main intersections, and then I keep a database of certain locations, and I take notes on them. So for example, I've got that major intersection. I can find the postal code address for that area, and then I can take a note on an Excel spreadsheet and say, hey, this area, lots of front entrances, product seems to be about 15 years old. It's this product that I recognize, and I know that I can target that specific postal code, that specific neighborhood in my digital campaigns, because I can target by specific postal code. And now that I've got those notes of, hey, I was driving around here, these front entrances really look like they need a lot of work done, I can then create content about front entrances being needed to be redone. And that helps me target those specific people. Because if you're scrolling through your feed and you are a client in that area, and it's on your mind that you need your front entrance redone, but it's just in the back of your mind, and you're scrolling, and somebody comes on and it's a paid ad for a landscaping company, and they're talking about getting a new outdoor living space or getting a pool installed or whatnot. They're more likely to scroll beyond that. But if you know that this neighborhood needs a lot of front entrances done, and you target that neighborhood and you create content around immediately, hey, this front entrance is falling apart, this is what we're going to do. They scroll, they see that, they see you're doing a front entrance, they reach out to you because it's more related to their pain point, what they need done. And we're going to be talking about more about that in part 3 when we get to that content creation. But that's where all of this really starts to tie together, especially those people that you don't know, those cold, have never heard of you before, how you can create that immediate connection with them and how you can solve their pain points. Now, bucket number 3, bucket number 4 kind of bleed in together, but where it differs is the people that you don't know are people that you don't know their common interests, their familiar interests. You don't know exactly who they are. They are completely cold, never heard of you before, and you are just banking on a pain point. Or you've driven around and you've taken note of these different neighborhoods, and you're going to try to target that specific person, whether it is door-to-door or an online ad to try and target them. Now you can take that a step further, and with those neighborhoods, you can take notes on their backyard by going to Google Earth or Google Maps. I do believe it tells you when it was last updated, so you can see how late it was, but this is more so for a general picture. So if you go to Google Earth and Google Maps in that specific neighborhood, and you take a look at how many people have done their backyard, you can see like faint, like a pergola or a patio in the backyard. You can say, hey, this neighborhood has a certain percentage of these backyards already done, and it seems like 90% of them do not. So that is an area that we can target for these outdoor living spaces or for these backyard patios, because it's a little bit more of a blue ocean out there that we can target and capitalize on. Same with pools. That's a much easier thing to see. Okay, it looks like 10% of these people have had pools done. That leaves quite a few more that may be looking at an outdoor living space of some sort, or the reverse of that. It looks like 70% of these houses already have pools. This is not an area that we're going to target. We're going to take this postal code out of our system because we are not going to target them, especially if we're trying to target for backyards. So just creating this ongoing list of postal codes that you can target and you can take notes on, and you can refine this targeting, especially for if you are doing offline sort of postcard delivery. You can target by postal code. So when you're doing that, you want to make sure that you can have 2 different client avatars. You can have a client avatar for a lift and relay project, front entrances, make a list of postal codes that obviously need front entrance work. And that way you are specifically making creative content, postcard, or like an online advertisement specifically for that client. And same thing for those backyard outdoor living spaces. You can create an ongoing list of those postal codes and make that content specifically for that person, for that client avatar, for their location, and for the work that they are going to be needing done. For example, going back to my lift and relay or redo front and back of a postcard or a door hanger, whatever that is, I wouldn't send that to a postal code that I know 90% of them still need some sort of backyard space, and that is an area that I want to target for backyard spaces. I want to create a different type of content, type of strategy to target that. So just to recap everything that we've kind of gone through here so far, and to build on it a little bit here, because I got lost in my notes, but essentially we started part 1 of this series talking about creating your client avatar, and then we use that avatar to find where this client is so that we can target them in our marketing. And like I said, whether that's online, offline, or whatever bucket that this client exists in, and leveraging your network, your people that you know, the people that you know, and the people around the people you know, but leaving the final coldest one, the people you don't know, until last, because that's going to be the most difficult to convert. And when it comes to online, when you are marketing to your avatar, you know exactly who that client is and you know exactly what their pain point is. So in our next episode, part 3, we're going to talk about how you can craft content to speak specifically to that client avatar and speak specifically to their pain point. And it's all built on top of this part 2 episode where we have kept notes. And if we are doing outreach to people that we know, it's a lot easier because they know exactly who we are and they know what kind of work and service that we provide. And they'll be more likely to pass your name on as a contractor if they have anybody in mind that may use you. And that's where you use the people that you know, the people that you've done work for, family, friends, to find that bucket number 2, the people you know, and those are the people that you can then sell your services to with at least a little bit of an introduction so that they know that you've done work for somebody in the past that they know, and there's a little bit more ease into some sort of sales process with that client. The word of mouth client is always the best client to have, besides doing more work for the same clients as long as they were great clients. And if you have a great client referring you to somebody, more than likely that is also going to be a great client because these types of people tend to hang around or associate with one another. And then bucket number 2 leads directly into bucket number 3, which is people around the people you know. And this isn't necessarily people that they know, but people that are around there. So this was talking about getting certain landmarks and being able to market within those landmarks based on your client's avatar, the interests, the hobbies that they are involved in, and also the neighborhoods and taking notes, which also helps you if you plan to do door-to-door. If you're doing work in that area, finding more clients in that area is a lot easier when you have a little bit of a foot in the door with somebody like that. If you have common interests or know what people are interested in, you can have a little bit more of a head start with that client if you are a little bit familiar with them, with who they are, or just being able to mention that you're doing work in the neighborhood, doing work in the area for this person down the road. Just helps to familiarize yourself with that client. And then we get to bucket number 4, which is the people you don't know. And that could just be cold marketing, going around door knocking, not necessarily in neighborhoods that you're working in, or it could be just a neighborhood that you want to target. So a little bit more difficult, but you can still use your note-taking and your consistent database that you have based on these neighborhoods that you want to target. And you can take notes on what type of work you think needs to be done there so that when you do target those clients, those prospective clients, those neighborhoods with content, you know exactly what type of content to go after them with, to target them specifically. And we'll be talking once again more about that in part number 3. Now, you can also expand beyond just trying to target your prospective client. You can target other businesses, and this would be just more one-on-one reaching out, email, phone call, always better just to show your face or to attend other industry events. And that would be targeting other contractors, and this would be other home service contractors. Complementary services would be the ones that I would start with. Think like asphalt companies that need a paver contractor to come in and reinstate a front walkway before they do their work, or even an upselling of border pavers along an asphalt driveway. Same thing with a concrete contractor, lawn care services. These are contractors that have a typically complementary service to yours. Now, when I'm making a list of these contractors, I'm making sure that they also don't offer paver work so that I'm not trying to step on their toes or anything. But then you can continue beyond this with any really home service contractor, because they'll go to homes, they'll see things that may be a tripping hazard, steps falling apart, and so on, and think about you to recommend to that client. And just make a list of different occupations that visit homes. Home inspectors is another good one. Realtors, if you want to go down that route, and so on. So just make a list of all these different occupations, starting with the complementary services first, asphalt, concrete, lawn care, and then move along to other home service contractors that you can also follow up with. I hope this made sense. I hope that I got my point across here with part number 2 on where to find your clients. If you have any questions, comments, comments, please message me at How to Hardscape. And if this, I really want your feedback with these episodes and if I should continue with some more marketing episodes in the future. But after part 3, we'll take a little bit of a break there and take a breath and get more hardscapers on the show, get more industry experts on the show. But anything that you agreed with, disagreed with, any feedback, anything that you would want clarified even more, leave me a message at How to Hardscape on Instagram. And thank you for listening to today's podcast episode. If you want more information on anything that I've talked about, shoot me a message at How to Hardscape on Instagram. And while you're there, check out Cycle CPA, cycle_CPA on Instagram, or cyclecpa.com. If you need bookkeeping, accounting, CFO services, reach out to them and let them know How to Hardscape sent you for money off their services there. And the How to Hardscape headquarters software, if you're looking for hardscape educational courses, the software itself, budgeting, estimating, job costing, scheduling, time tracking, and so much more, just shoot me a message at How to Hardscape and we'll get you started with that, or go to members.howtohardscape.com to learn more about that there. And once again, if this was helpful in any way, the best way that you can help me with this podcast is sharing it with somebody. Once again, going back to the people that you know, sharing it with somebody that you know is going to help me with this podcast and help get this podcast out there into more people's ears. But also just simply subscribing, following, commenting, liking, and leaving a rating and review. Apple Podcast rating and written review, and I will read off the reviews that we get there on future episodes. And on Spotify, it's a simple rating, and I would really appreciate that there. And we look forward to meeting with you next week on the How to Hardscape podcast.